Good evening, everybody, and welcome to GlugNet. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Betsy Weber, who will be speaking to us about the Microsoft MVP program. But before we get started, a little bit about us. We are the Greater Lansing user group for .NET developers, based out of Okemos, Michigan, as pictured on this map here. Our meetings are held every month on the third Thursday, and they are free and open to the public to attend. The best way to find out what's coming up is to go to our meetup page, meetup.com/glugnet. Our meetings are typically recorded and posted to YouTube by our own Sam Nasser. Those can be found at his YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SamNasser. A few housekeeping items before we get started this evening. Joe Kunk and I are always looking for lightning talks to happen before our main presenter. If you have a topic that you can speak 10 to 15 minutes on that you're passionate about, please reach out to either of us. We would love to have you at one of our meetings. Tonight's presentation is interactive. We encourage asking questions or answering questions if our speaker has questions for us. If you are uncomfortable or unable to speak, we do have a chat in GoToMeeting that we can use as well to either ask or answer questions. But we just ask, if you are not asking a question or answering a question, to please remain on mute so that we can all hear and enjoy tonight's presentation. At the conclusion of tonight's presentation, there will be a survey made available to all attendees. This is completely anonymous, and we're looking for feedback, particularly in two different areas. First of all, how did we do with the marketing of this meetup? And secondly, how did Betsy do with her presentation? All feedback we receive is completely anonymous. It gets summarized and sent to our speakers so they can improve their presentations and for Joe and I to look at so we know how to better market our presentations. So if you wouldn't mind, there is a QR code right here. If you've got your phone handy, you can grab that. Or there is this link here, which I will drop in the chat at the end of the presentation. I will leave this open for about 24 hours so that if you want to take some time to think about your feedback before you submit it, you have time to do so. Our sponsors for this evening, NIS Technologies, who is providing this go-to session, and the .NET Foundation for their financial support of GlugNet. And now, without further ado, it is time for our featured presentation.
Thank you so much for that great intro, Stephen. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me share this. Hopefully you can see this. Let me gotta switch between my tabs. Okay, looks like it's showing. Okay, and like Stephen said, I welcome any questions, or you can share your experience or your insight. Please, I want this to be interactive. So I will with that. So just stop me if you have any questions. So let's get started. A little bit about me. I'm Betsy Weber. There's a link on there, aka.ms/Betsy, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm a senior community program manager at Microsoft, and with their MVP program, I've been at Microsoft since 2016. Prior to that, I worked at TechSmith, which is based in Okemos. It's now based in East Lansing, Michigan. And while I was there, I was the Camtasia product manager, and I was also their tech evangelist. And I traveled the world talking about audio and video. And that's really how I got to know a lot of user groups and people like Joe at events and conferences and things like that. So I was there, I think, about 15 years. So, my background is I went to Michigan State University. My degree is in marketing and logistics, but I worked in the computer lab there, and I went to computer camp as a kid, so where I learned basic. So I've always had kind of one foot in tech and one foot on, in the kind of community or business world. So that's a little bit about my background. In my spare time, I love 3D printing, reading, travel, trying to learn Python. I do some knitting, which is basically coding with yarn, right? Like it's got its own language and algorithms and things like that. So that's a little bit about me. And I am based in the East Lansing, Michigan area. Okay, so let's talk about what is the MVP program. There is a link here, and I'll put these in chat. I don't have that many links in this presentation, but I'll share this. And that link just takes you to the page mvp.microsoft.com, which will tell you more about the MVP program. So first of all, welcome and thank you so much. I really appreciate you all joining me for this talk to learn more about the Microsoft MVP program. I know your time is very valuable. So during this presentation, I will share a little bit more about the Microsoft MVP program, what it takes to be an MVP, the benefits, how to get started, and then Joe said he would chime in. He was an MVP for many years, Joe Kunk, one of the co-organizers of our user group tonight, and he could share a little bit about his MVP journey, and then we'll have lots of time for Q&A. So what is the Microsoft MVP program? MVP stands for Most Valuable Professional, and the program is over 30 years old, and it is an award that recognizes exceptional community leaders who share their passion and their technical expertise and real-world knowledge of Microsoft products and services with others. For over 3 decades, the Microsoft MVP Award has been Microsoft's way of saying thanks to these outstanding community leaders. So chances are you might know some Microsoft MVPs. These are those community leaders who have demonstrated their deep understanding of Microsoft technologies and have actively contributed to the community through various means, such as like this user group meeting tonight, right? Speaking at events. Some write blog posts, maybe some live code on Twitch, or organize events. They write books. They give feedback to Microsoft. A Microsoft MVP is not a Microsoft employee. They are highly respected for their contributions and insights. So, in essence, the Microsoft MVP program connects technical community leaders with Microsoft to help each other, right? It's a unique opportunity for those who are passionate about technology and keen to make a positive impact in the community. So let's get started, and we'll explore more about this community. Okay, so why should you join the Microsoft MVP program? And what will you achieve in the program? With the MVP award, if you should be awarded, you'll build skills. One big thing is you'll get insider access to Microsoft products and services and those teams. You'll grow your career, you'll grow your network. The MVP program is a global community. You'll get invited to exclusive events. You'll get some benefits too, like you might get credits for Azure or other things like that. You'll get direct contact with the Microsoft product groups. They want to know your insight and feedback. And you'll get recognition, right? And credibility. It helps show your expertise and your knowledge around certain products and services. But I think one of the biggest benefits, if you talk to other MVPs, is that access to those Microsoft resources, whether those are the product groups. If you're using products and services, it's great to be able to share that feedback, and not only hear about new features and things before they're released to the public, but you also have the chance to make sure your feedback's heard, and that can help shape Microsoft products and services. And then the network, that being a part of that global community. So that's a little bit about what you might achieve if you become a Microsoft MVP. So where are MVPs located? Like I mentioned, this is a global community. There's over 3,500 MVPs in 96 different countries around the world, and they speak 49 different languages. So it's really cool. Whenever I travel in the world, there's always a Microsoft MVP that I can meet up with and have coffee, and it really is a extensive global network. And there's a couple in Michigan, so a couple who are local. So who are the MVPs? They are people who are passionate about Microsoft products and services, and they have a deep knowledge of those products and services. And there are always those early adopters and the ones, trying new technologies and pushing on them. And a lot, if you ask a lot of them, they are just driven by their passion, and they love working with the community. And a lot of them would tell you they're going to do what they do with the community, and they love giving back because somebody helped them in the community when they were getting started. And I often hear a lot of them say, I do what I do with the community, and I love helping community, and I will always help the community. And if I happen to get the MVP award, that's great. They are very driven to give back, to help others as others have helped them. So it's really cool to see. So MVPs contribute in a lot of different ways. You might have heard like, oh, if you want to be an MVP, you have to be a public speaker, and you have to write a book, and you also need to organize, a user group. That's not the case. If you want to be an MVP, do you have to write a blog? No. If you want to be an MVP, do you have to write a book? The answer is no. We want people to contribute to the community in ways that they want to contribute. If you love writing, awesome, do that. If you love public speaking, which by the way, I think is often cited as people's number one fear, if you love public speaking, do that. If you have a fear of public speaking and don't want to do that, you do not have to do public speaking. There's many different ways to contribute to the community. You could help mentor the next generation of technologists. We've got a lot of major universities in Michigan, or hopefully local to you. They're always looking for people to work with their students. Some of our MVPs answer questions on forums, and that's where they do most of their contributions. Others like to contribute to open source presentations or open source projects. But there's a variety of different ways. Product feedback, sharing how what you're running into using Microsoft products and services, or what your customers or clients, or what you're seeing people doing with Microsoft products and services. That product feedback is also a way that a lot of MVPs contribute. Let me take a quick pause here to see if there's any questions or any thoughts or anything like that.
Yes, Betsy, I have a question
Yeah.
for you. This is Mehul here.
Yes.
Now, I have been blogging since 2008, and I primarily worked on Microsoft technologies from the last 20 years or so,
Amazing.
right? And most of them, I've started with VBASP, and then graduated to .NET, SQL Server, SharePoint, right? You name it, InfoPath. all the products. So now, of course, as your function apps, so on the product develop, I mean, on the app development side, software engineering side, Blazor, and also on the data engineering side, which is Databricks. So I have a comprehensive experience, but looks like I is there a lot of and I've been blogging and I've also connected to the user groups. So what am I missing here? Like in and I'm sure there are many people with the same dilemma that if we have are we missing skills where we network with people who are MVPs, or we essentially are not putting up out ourselves outside and in saying that, hey, we have done this kind of a marketing thing, or what how do we get noticed is the question here.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. There's a couple different things. So um, when you are considered for the MVP award, we look back a year over your activities over the past year. So if you wrote a book 5 years ago, that's great. But for the MVP award, we're looking back, 1 year. So you would share with us what you've been doing over the last year. I wish I could give you like a formula or an algorithm, like 12 blog posts, 3 talks, organizing 1 user group equals MVP award. It's not that simple. And when you are nominated, multiple people go into the review, and it is done by people. This isn't like a AI algorithm that just, goes through everything and says award or not award. We're going through and we're reading, your blog posts, or we're watching your videos, or we're joining your, live coding on Twitch, or we're checking out your open source projects or things like that. Like, there are humans behind the program. We do look for impact. It's amazing. Like if you're doing like talks and, doing things, writing blog posts, like that's not easy. I've written blog posts in the past. I still write them here and there. It's not easy to do. We look for impact. Are people reading your blog? Are they engaging with your blog? Is the content you're creating, maybe you're sharing something on YouTube, is that getting viewed? Are people coming to your talks? Things like that. So there's many different things that we look at, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, about like what happens, like how do you get nominated, how do we review you, and things like that, to give you some more insight, and that might help. There are a lot of MVPs that you can reach out to as well, that are happy to help mentor you on your MVP journey. I don't recommend you compare yourself with others. Let me put in a link. You can see other MVPs, and you can. A lot of MVPs have profiles, and on them they'll share some of their activities. Like maybe they spoke at a user group, and here's a video. I sometimes will hear from people, and they'll say, "Hey, there's this other MVP, and I saw that they did 12 blog posts, and they talked at 3 events, and they and then they got the MVP award." And I did that too. Like, why? I did the same thing they're doing. Why didn't I get it? I caution not to compare yourself to others, because behind the scenes, they might be giving product feedback. They might be, meeting with that product group on a weekly basis, or they might be beta testing things, or they might be doing things that you don't see or have visibility to. So I think it's best to concentrate on yourself. You can look to see what others are doing, maybe for ideas, or like, oh, what are different ways I could contribute to the community? But just don't compare yourself to others. You can look at others for inspiration or things like that, but there's often additional things going on which you might not see that might be the reason why somebody is awarded. So a lot of MVPs are used to hearing, like, you can look up MVP profiles on, you can sort by like technology area, you can sort on location, and there are some MVPs in Michigan, and most will, on their profile page, they'll link to their LinkedIn, and most of them are more than happy to connect with other community members, and they're happy to give you guidance from their perspective as well. So I hope that answered your question without seeing, your blog and other activity. That's my best advice. Hopefully that helps.
Yep. Yes, Betsy. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are there other questions before we go on to the next few slides? Okay. All right. Let's go on to the next one. So where to get started? This kind of goes into your question. There's three simple steps, right? First one is to be an expert at whatever that product or service is that you love. Do lots of what you love, whatever that might be, if that's blogging or making videos or things like that. Do that. And then the third thing is let Microsoft know. So there really isn't a long checklist of things you need to do to become an MVP. Like I said, my best advice to you is to do what you love. Share and contribute to the community in the ways that you want to contribute. Love writing, blog, write articles. New to speaking, find a user group. User groups are such a great place to start on your speaking journey, right? Or, and user groups are always looking for new speakers, right? And they're really a friendly place to get started. And you can always co-present. I love to see when new speakers are paired up with people who have spoken at many events. That's a great way to give back. And I love to see MVP nominees who are bringing new speakers, up on stage with them on that journey, whether it's a user group stage or an event. So that's great. If you're learning something new to you, share what you're learning. A lot of that, a lot of people are on the same journey you are. There's a lot of straight up how-to content and documentation out there. Like Microsoft has done a lot of that documentation, right? And it's great when somebody takes that challenge and shows how they solved it and how they share their own or their customers' experience or insights or learnings. That, I think, is where the real valuable content comes from. Look for gaps that set you apart or something that sets you apart. For instance, we have this one MVP who, this is one of her tweets. She loves to sketch and draw, and she's a visual learner. And so she would often share information with the community in a unique and different way than others, so that was the gap that she was filling. So it was just really cool to see, and she created this content that was really helpful to other visual learners, right? So that was something that set her apart. She was, one of the first people to be doing that in her community. And she got retweeted by, not just retweeted, but Satya Nadella shared her tweet and chimed in on it, which to me is pretty amazing. So pretty cool to be called out by the CEO of any company. So let's talk. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, can I add to that a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
So my MVP experience, a lot of where my MVP experience came from was I contributed to Visual Studio Magazine as a editor or writer, ultimately delivering about 33, 34 articles. And when I first started, I contacted the publishing editor and I said, you know, would you be interested in having me as a writer? And they're like, sure. And I said, well, I don't understand why you say that, because, you have all these really amazing, smart people who write for you. How, they certainly know a lot more than I do. Why would you consider me as a writer? And they said, hey, find your voice. That was the phrase he said to me. Find your voice. We have knowledge, but we don't have your voice. You said it's your voice that is unique and is your perspective and your view, and that's what we're missing. And that I thought that was wonderful advice, and I want to share that with the folks on this call and potentially on the recording. If you're thinking, hey, I can't do this, the answer is yes, you can, because you are unique in this industry. Your viewpoints are unique, and what you bring is unique, and that has great value.
I love that, Joe. That's great advice. Yeah. And others want to learn from you too, right? And your experiences. All right. So that's great. So let's talk a little bit about not only the review process, but the nomination process. So after you've been active in the community, and if you are interested in the MVP program, you will need to be nominated. Now, who can nominate you? Microsoft employee, you'll often hear them referred to as FTEs, and that stands for full-time employee. So a Microsoft employee, FTE, or a Microsoft MVP, a current one who is active and currently awarded. So it's amazing Joe was an MVP. He's not an MVP, right? He's an MVP to me. He's not a Microsoft MVP right now. So he can't nominate you, but somebody like Sam Nasser, who is an MVP, he could nominate you. So 2 different people can nominate you, and you only need 1 nomination. And it's no different if a MVP nominates you or if an employee nominates you. It doesn't matter which. It's not better for your nomination if a Microsoft employee nominates you versus an MVP. They will, when you're nominated, the person nominating you will give us a little insight. They'll share how they know you, how long have they known you, why they think you would make a great MVP. So it is, and that's useful stuff when we go to review you. So after you've been active in the community, I think it's best for somebody to nominate you who knows you and who's worked with you, because they can better advocate for you, right? So once you've been nominated, you have to accept that nomination, and you have to share with us what you've been doing over the past year, right? And we look back, and you will share with us on the application process, like, here's my blog, here's my YouTube channel, or things like that, or here's where I'm answering questions on this forum. You'll share with us, there's some short questions too, like, why do you want to be an MVP? What's the most impactful contribution you've shared with the community? And then we'll go into a review process. And behind the scenes, multiple people go into this review. So there's community program managers like myself. You'll often hear us referred to as MVP leads or CPMs, community program managers. So we will chime in, and we'll say, like, hey, this person, should be an MVP because, they're doing this, and they're filling the gap like this. And the community program managers are regional based, right? So I work with our MVPs based in the US and Canada. But we also have community program managers in Japan or Australia or, around the world. And so chances are they might know you from their local community. And so the community program managers will write the review. There's the business group leads. They'll write a review, and then the product group will write their review. So there's all these multiple viewpoints, doing the reviews, and then we come up with a Microsoft decision. And so it's not like, oh, Betsy is, giving you the award or not, or the product group is or isn't. It's multiple groups go into that review, and we come up with a Microsoft decision. And it's not uncommon for people to be nominated and to not get the award the first time. That actually is fairly common. And many times the community program manager is happy to give you some feedback or some ideas or insight. And then, in 6 months or so, or a year, maybe you're ready to be renominated. So once we come up with that decision, you'll either way you'll hear if you're awarded or not awarded. And typically people will hear on the first of the month if they're awarded. And we do, I think when Joe was an MVP, we used to do it quarterly, but now you don't have to wait. Like, if you're nominated in January, you don't have to wait till April to hear the results. Like, we award new MVPs every month. So that's the process that goes into your review. It can take 60 to 90 days based on the timing and based on everybody reviewing you and doing things like that. But new MVPs are awarded every month, so that's always exciting to see. When you are awarded the MVP award, you are awarded in an award category. So this is a technical award, and different product. When you enter in your contributions to be considered, you're telling us, in addition to like what you did, you're saying, oh, this video is about AI, right? Or this one's about .NET, right? Or so whatever you kind of tag those activities under, that's what the product group will look at, right? So, it's my biggest advice is, I think as technologists, a lot of us are curious or interested or work with a lot of different tech, right? Like, I will see nominations come through and they will have, some blog posts about AI, like .NET, Azure security. Like, they'll be doing contributions across a lot of different award categories. But at the end of the day, we need you to have enough in, an award category, a single award category, because that product group, they're reviewing you and they, you would be awarded in that award category. So my best advice is to concentrate on, focus like on 1 or 2 award categories in technology areas. Don't, I'll see everything that you do across all the award categories, but the product groups are only going to be looking at their technology area. So there is a really useful chart on the MVP website that will give you the breakdown, like, hey, these are all the different technologies under the award categories, and really just try and focus on 1 or 2 of those is my best advice for you. I have a quick video to share. I think it's about a minute, and you'll hear from MVPs around the world about why they love being an MVP and what's in it for them. So let me just play this really quick.
Why I love being an MVP? I help organizations worldwide build secure, collaborative workspaces for the future.
I can stay connected with people who love Microsoft technologies.
I'm able to hear about and give feedback on the investments in Windows on ARM, .NET, and AI in the Windows development space.
It has helped to empower my desire to share knowledge and enthusiasm globally. Being an MVP is a privilege.
It allows me to connect with other people from technology that solve real problems and help improve their lives.
I think the biggest satisfaction comes from actively participating and contributing to the development of Microsoft products.
We uplift, help, inspire, and empower each other.
Okay, so really, I mean, here's some other insight from other MVPs about why they love doing it. I think what I hear from a lot of MVPs is they love the connection with the product groups. And the other I think, biggest benefit that they love is the MVP Summit, which Joe talked a little bit about, but we just had it in March, and thousands of MVPs come in from around the world to Microsoft's campus, and they get to meet with product groups. It's an NDA event, so everything is private and under the non-disclosure agreement that they're not going to share this information. So the product groups are able to share, roadmaps or, ideas or, things long before it's available to the public with the MVPs to get their feedback, to get their insight, to hear, to learn from the MVPs on ways they can improve the products and services. So it's a really fun and interesting week to spend. I think we take about every conference room on Microsoft's campus during that week. There's hundreds of different sessions with the product groups as well. So I think if you ask a lot of MVPs, what's their favorite benefit or things like that, they would say MVP Summit and that connection with the product group. Yeah. So Joe, I don't know if you want to share any more about your experience as an MVP.
Sure, be happy to. I agree. I second that motion that the summit and the connection with the product group is very, very exciting. So as an MVP, you walk away with a sense that you have had some valuable input into the future of the product. And that's just an amazing experience. In my case, I was a Visual Basic MVP, and I was part of, we would go into sessions with the Visual Basic product team, and they essentially would put in front of us a list of all the things that they were thinking of doing to enhance the product, features to add. And they said, okay, you have $100 to spend, and you can spend those $100 however you want on any one of these features. You can, put all your 100 on one feature. You can put, 20 on 5, whatever you want to do. But that will be our feedback on which features we should focus on for the next release or the next 2 or 3 releases, whatever. And in that way, we were able to provide our community-based feedback onto what was most important for the future of the product. And that was just a really amazing experience.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you sharing that. And do you still keep in touch with, your network from the time when you were in MVP?
Absolutely. These are wonderful people, and they're great professional connections and personal connections. Many of them are still personal friends. It's really, really nice. And, these are people that you see in the industry as leaders, right? And to say, oh, I've had dinner with John Skeet, who was the leading contributor to Stack Overflow for, whatever, for the whole year or whatever. Or I've had dinner with Dustin Campbell, who's the one of the leads on the development of Visual Studio software. So these are really, really important connections to make, and they're, you feel that you're treated as an equal, that your opinion is valuable, and you're really listened to. And I think that's just amazing.
Yeah, our senior leaders at Microsoft love working with MVPs, and they make sure that they get to attend MVP Summit to not just share what's new and upcoming, but also to hear, product feedback and ways that we can improve. It's always great to hear, what people love. It's really helpful to hear constructive, actionable feedback too on what we can do to improve. So it is really cool that the program is heard and engaged with, all the way up to, Satya at the top. So yeah, that's really cool to see. So really, I'd love to hear your questions, thoughts, shares, anything like that. That's all that I had to cover. quiet group. Any other questions? Is there opportunities from a game developer point of view? We have had some game developers. I'm going to share. Let me go to the, let's see, if I do this, let me show the different technology areas. We have had some game developers in the MVP program, and it depends on like what technology you're interested in, what you're sharing or helping others with in the community. These are the different award categories, and then these are the different technology areas. So often they would be awarded in whatever technology area that they were using, or sometimes maybe around accessibility, making games accessible to all, or things like that. So it really just depends on what technology areas you would like to share with. So there are also some other programs too that might be a good fit. I think Xbox has Xbox ambassadors. I'll have to look that up, but I think they have some community programs that are focused on their game developers specifically. That's a great question. Other questions? Let me put the link to this technology award chart that I think is really helpful as you try and find your focus. Like I said, I would pick 1 to 2 to focus on, and not spread too thin across many of them. But there's lots of different technologies to focus on.
Betsy, early on in the presentation, you said something important, that MVPs, contribute to the community, but they contribute in a way that they would have anyway. I don't know that I have really run across any MVPs that are MVPs because they targeted being an MVP. They're MVPs because that's just part of who they are. That's part of what they consider valuable in their personal lives and in their career, is the helping of others and giving back. So, I don't think you can try to be an MVP. I think you become an MVP because you are that kind of person with that kind of mindset of, giving back in whatever way you can.
I think that's so true. I think the MVPs that I see who are awarded for multiple years do just that, right? They do what they do, and because they love it, and it's part of their DNA, right? To give back to the community. The ones that chase it, I think, get burnt out, or if you're trying to do things and it's not maybe so natural to you, or you don't want to be doing them, I think that's harder to maintain, and I think that is challenging, right?
The other thing I want to point out to someone who's considering, it's okay to try to mold your activities a little bit to be a little more compatible with an MVP award. That's okay. That's not the same as trying to be an MVP. But the other thing I want to mention is that your contributions need to be public. If you are, the world's greatest training video author, but it's behind a paywall, that, to my understanding, is not publicly visible, and therefore won't be considered in the same way. Is that right, sir? Is that right, Betsy?
Yeah, that's still the case, and we are looking for community contributions. This shouldn't be part of your day job, right? Like, this shouldn't be a paid contribution. Like, there's a difference between a conference giving you a pass and like a hotel room versus, we do have some MVPs who get paid $20,000, $30,000 for a keynote. That's their business and they're making a living off of that. If people write a book, like, yes, that is technically paid, but you aren't quitting your day job to write a tech book, right? Like, so it has to be like community oriented and typically not part of your day job. So,
But let me ask you this. If the majority of the posts were posted on your company blog as opposed to your own personal blog, how would that be considered?
that's a great question. And that's where things get a little trickier, right? Like, I understand why you might want to blog on your company blog because you might get different exposure than your personal stuff. You might get a lot more exposure, right? Like, and part of this is you do want your content to be seen and read and watched, right? Like, you need to show that you're having impact. So that does get tricky. What I often recommend is, okay, you can post it on your company site, but we need to make it clear on your nomination. Like, maybe you do want to also mirror on your personal site, right? Be like, this is on my like, this is mine. This is not my day job. We just need to be really clear, because that gets, I understand why you would do that, right? To have it on your company site, but we also need to show that it's, not your day job. So yeah, that's a great question.
Okay.
And we do look a year back. So, and there's lots of different ways to give back. Like I said, there's mentoring. Like, we also have a partner program called the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. And there are students, local, and they're looking to, learn from us. So I should have reached out to them to invite them to this meeting, right? Or they want to volunteer as well. So if you're doing, a local event, they might want to help check in people's badges, or they're really good with social media. They might love to make some marketing videos to spread the word about your event or things like that. They are looking to volunteer, but to also learn while volunteering, right? So there's lots of opportunities and different ways to contribute. Any other questions, thoughts?
Let me just point out one more thing.
Yeah.
Betsy, as an MVP, one of the things I found would happen was that often when there were new products coming to market, the companies, getting ready to do a big launch on these products or whatever, would contact the MVPs and say, hey, you're experts, you're very involved in the community. We'd like your feedback on this product before we go live. And I, experienced several of those opportunities as an MVP. And the other thing that will happen oftentimes is these companies will recognize, even if they're not launching a new product, they'll recognize that as an MVP you have a lot of influence in the community, and so they'll offer you, free licenses for their products. There were more products I was offered than I had time to check out while I was an MVP.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's great. So I just pulled up on our website at mvp.microsoft.com. There's a section you can say, like, find an MVP, and these are all the different MVPs who are based in Michigan too, and several. I know this is a .NET user group, right? There are several MVPs who are focused on .NET. Like Brian is over on the west side of the state. And Chris Woodruff both were or are active with, like, Beer City Code. Like Dwayne is over toward Detroit. There's definitely other people who are nearby who would be great contacts, and they would love to, give you insight. Oh, I do see from Rich. Rich wants to be walked through the process of contribution. and not knowing where to start. So let me, can I go back to this? Let me go back to this slide really quick. Give me 1 second. If I go here, is that it? Okay, hold on. Let me bring up. Okay. So Rich, let's say you were speaking next month at the .NET at GlugNet at the .NET user group, right? So what you would do is you would give your talk, and I advise a lot of people interested to have a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet you would just share. I would copy the URL for the user group on meetup.com, and then this user group shares to YouTube, right? So you would also want to capture that link to the YouTube video, and the MVP nomination form would say, give us a description. And so you would use that to say, like, I spoke at GlugNet about this topic, and this technology. And then there were this many people there, and this many people watched the video after, right? And then let's say you also did a blog post. You would, you don't have to enter in, let's say you did 12 blog posts a year. Some people do enter them individually, but you don't have to do that. You can say, here's my URL. I wrote 12 blog posts over the last year about this technology. I had this type of engagement. Describe, what your blog or your posts are about. And then you would go to that chart and say, hey, this is under, developer technologies.net. And that's it. You're sharing with us like what you're doing and the impact that it's having. And it helps to give insight and context to what you're doing. This is the only .NET user group, or you're presenting at a .NET user group that's been around 20 plus years, 20 years. I don't know how many years. It's been around a while.
You're correct. We're on the 21st year.
That's amazing. So, it helps to give some insight. Like, I know some people speak at CodeMash here, and it's really hard to get a talk at CodeMash. So you'd say like, hey, I spoke at this event. 1,000 people applied for it. 100 of us were accepted. And this is what I spoke about. And so not only are you kind of giving insight into this is what I did, and this is how many people came to that talk or something like that, give insight into, I know it's really hard to get a speaking slot there. I know it's hard, but maybe the product group or the business group, the other people reviewing it, don't know, how competitive it is. So it really helps to add that context. So what you would do is start a spreadsheet or Excel, and just start saying, like, on this date, like, I met with a student for an hour, a comp sci student at Michigan State, and I gave them, direction and got them started on making an AI, agent or something like that, right? What did you do? And you can start to log that over the year and or over the past year, and then see if you're ready to be nominated. That's sort of my advice, is to start kind of capturing what you've been up to. And it's about quality, not necessarily quantity. I wouldn't expect you to be entering in hundreds of contributions, right? Like that. But like I said, think about what sets you apart. What gaps can you fill? Maybe you're talking about technology to different audiences than other MVPs are talking to, right? Maybe you're the only one talking to students at Michigan State, for example. I'm trying to think what else. It is important to be able to advocate for yourself as well, and to there's a description field that you'll be asked, like, what did you do? Gave a user group presentation, and then you were able to give a description of that. And it is very helpful if you can advocate for yourself and give some insight into what's going on.
Not the time to be shy.
It's true.
Yeah.
Finding open doors where you can contribute. How do you want to contribute? What do you like to do? Do you like to answer questions? Do you like to present? Do you like to do podcasting? Like, what do you like writing? I think you've got to look in yourself and see how and like what you like doing, and then you can find places to do that. And some communities have other opportunities. This slide is maybe more toward M365, but there's they have like a quarterly Q&A call that you could join. There's if you like writing or answering questions, there's Tech Community at Microsoft. This GlugNet's a great place to get involved too. Like I said, user groups are great. They're so friendly, and they're such a great place to get started speaking if you haven't done that. Yeah, I just asked you, Rich, where would you like to get? What do you like to do? You like to answer questions? You like writing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots of places to get involved. I see Steven's back. You want to mention your survey again? Oh, I can't hear you. Steven's posted where you can leave your feedback. Feedback's important, right? That's how you learn and grow.
So, Betsy, hopefully one final question. What do you see the future of the MVP program being? Is it going to continue as it is? Do you see it changing in any significant way, growing? What's the future?
That's a great question. I mean, it has been around for over 3 decades, right? So it's been around for a while, and the program is always changing and growing and things like that. So the MVP program of today is different than when you were in it, although there are things that you will definitely still recognize, right? And that are still important, like MVP Summit and that connection with the product groups, right? Like sometimes the technology changes and what we're looking for. But as the thing I think is cool is we don't have like quotas. Like sometimes you'll hear, oh, I can't be an MVP, or somebody else can't be an MVP because somebody's taking up that spot. Like we don't have quotas, right? Like if we find somebody doing amazing things, like they can be awarded, right? So the program has, I think, grown. There's different regions too that we need more representation and more voices heard from too. Like we don't have that many MVPs in Michigan, right? Like we could definitely use more in this region, right? Like we definitely have a focus too on different regions in the world that we don't have many MVPs in already. So like LATAM, like Central and South America, we definitely need have more MVPs from there and Africa, and there's definitely different regions that we need. I think one of the, like I mentioned, I think one of the good things about COVID was the accessibility to opportunities, right? Like this user group, I can attend it and I can speak at it, which is amazing, and I don't have to be here necessarily physically in East Lansing, Michigan. I think there's just a lot more opportunities, or different opportunities, I think, to get involved in community. I do see a question: is age a factor in the MVP program, as some of us may not be able to travel to present? You don't have to present at all if you don't want to. There's a lot of MVPs who don't travel and they don't present, like, or if you do want to present and you can't travel, I think there are a lot of opportunities. Like there's a lot of user groups who are looking for different voices, from all over the world, for sure, right? Just do what you love to do. You don't have to. I think there's some misinformation out there that says like you've got to blog, you've got to make videos, you've got to speak, you've got to run a user group. No, you don't have to have a blog. You don't have to present. Do what you love and give back that way. But I'm sure Stephen and Joe would love to have you speak here if you'd like to talk, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a good user group that's always looking for speakers.
I love user groups. This it's so nice to present here. Like everybody's so nice. Great community, right, to get involved in.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize also that we're, although we talk about MVPs and we talk about how lucky we are to have those as presenters in our user group here at LogNet, you don't need to be an MVP. And if you are a beginner, if you've never presented before and you want to have that opportunity, we will work with you. Okay, so you do not have to be an experienced presenter. You don't have to be an MVP. You just have to want to share something that that you feel others will be interested in. That's all you need.
That's so cool that you run a Fabric user group in Atlanta and a SQL Saturday. That's awesome. Fabric, BizApps, Power BI, that is such a tight community, and they have like so many different ways to get involved. That's really cool. A SQL Saturday in March, and you had 310 people attend? That's amazing. On a Saturday, right? In person. That's so cool. That's major. That's awesome. It's not easy to I mean, we're all busy, right? It's really amazing that, you're sharing your knowledge with others. That's cool. That's a big deal. There are Microsoft reactors. There are a couple in the US, like one's in New York, one's in Toronto, there's one in Redmond, but they also have with the pandemic, they're physical spaces, but they also now have virtual reactors too. So those are great places too if you want to get involved in speaking. They're always looking for speakers virtually or in person. Those are great places to try out talks. They'll invite their audience and their mailing lists, and they'll help moderate chat and help with registration. There's let me give you a link to that too. They're a great place to try out your talks or to give talks and to gain new audiences as well. But you might also want to check out different talks that they're giving too. So if you're doing a SQL Saturday in Atlanta, maybe you want to work with the reactor and share your talk there online. And there's the different locations, and you can reach out to them if you'd like to connect with them and talk about maybe doing an event or a talk with them. But that's another place you could, take. You did that SQL Saturday in Atlanta for that audience that was in the room. You could look at doing an online version of that, maybe with a reactor or a user group, and reach a different or a broader audience as well. So yeah, reactor is great. It's a great place to learn too. So Data.net. That was great. We used to do those, didn't we? I think I have
I
some.
just saw one of the groups in Southfield is looking at doing one. They just put a survey out to get some feedback on days and such to get some interest, in setting one up for this fall.
Oh, that would be really cool. I wonder where they want to do that. Like, I'm pretty sure we did one of those at TechSmith, and I'm pretty sure one was done at maybe LCC one year. Those were really nice. Those were great.
Yeah, this group, it used to be Gang that
Yes,
met at the
right.
Microsoft campus there. They've rebranded and they're still in the area though. I believe they're at Epitech now.
Ah, okay. Do they?
And
There. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Betsy, you were part of the TechSmith
Yeah,
.NET that we did,
that was
and
great.
I have very fond memories of the bouncy house.
And the dunk tank. Remember the dunk tank?
Yeah, the dunk tank was awesome too.
I think it was a little chilly though. I think it was a little chilly when we did that, but yeah, those were really great events. Oh, Washington Community College too. They've been a good partner for a lot. Community colleges are great partners. There was just a big tech event in Michigan. This is its second year. I think maybe the Southfield user group had something to do with that.
Yeah, I don't remember what they called it, but they did have
Michigan Tech Con.
something like that.
It
Yeah.
just happened, I think. Yeah, MI Tech Con. It happened at the end of March. I volunteered at it the year before. It was great. It was really cool to see. I mean, we shouldn't have to travel, to the coasts for great tech events, right? We've got great ones online and coming back in person. Excellent. Well, I appreciate everybody sharing their valuable time with me. Please connect with me if you've got further questions. I welcome your feedback. I'm always looking to improve. I view any and all feedback as a gift. And I will I'll put my link to LinkedIn. You can find me there. That should work. Let me just check that. Yep, it does. Yep. So please connect with me. I'm happy to answer questions. If you think of them later, you might not know what to even ask for a question yet.
Hey, Betsy, I had a question here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. So the question is that, for example, if I'm working on Databricks and it works seamlessly with Microsoft, but it's not a Microsoft technology. And essentially, this is not a Microsoft technology, but would that still be considered for the MVP, or it has to be closely associated or be a Microsoft technology?
When you do enter in your contributions, you would be asked, like, what award category is this and what technology area does it align? And, while the product group would, welcome the feedback maybe on something like that, it does have to align with Microsoft products and services. I'll put that link to that. I think that award category chart's really useful. I'll put that in chat, and that can help you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There's that technology chart. So your contributions would fall under an award category and a technology area. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Betsy.
Yeah,
The
thank you
link
very much.
in the chat, I will post it again here so it's at the bottom. For that survey, remember 6 questions, completely anonymous. We just want to know how we're doing here. So we would greatly appreciate the feedback. Good, bad, somewhere in the middle, give it to us. We want it.
That's how you grow and learn, right?
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.